Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. Today, I am walking you through this week how to use Manus. That's MANUS.ai. Now, for a very long time, this was actually one of the first Chinese models. That has shifted over time. In fact, recently Meta has bought Manus, and I'm going to even show you potentially how you could connect this inside your Facebook ads. But I'm going to be doing kind of a 30,000 foot view here. Look, I've been using Metis now for about 12 months to 14 months. There's some really great things it can do. Now, you're going to see me today working inside my free account because inside my paid account, I have access to certain things that I cannot share on the screen. So I'm not able to use this account. So I want you to remember that as I do some stuff in here, though. I typically recommend at least doing the $20 paid version here. And now I have the $200 version for Manus. I have the $100 version for Gemini, and I have the $200 version for Claude and ChatGPT. Now, slowly what we're doing is shifting that actually away from OpenAI and ChatGPT, more over to Claude. And so I am working on duplicating our GPTs there. But let's talk about some different things Manus can do, some different things you could potentially connect it to. So first of all, on the left-hand side here, when you go to create a task, and you can see the task here, if you had other chats, they should show up here. Now, under Manus here too, where you can see right here is you can see where you can connect different tools. So you can see like GitHub, your Gmail, HubSpot. There's a lot of different things you can do. You could even have it log in to certain websites if you want. Now, here's the important thing. You're going to be signing in with your password. You're not just be giving it your password. You're actually going to be logging in. And it can go in there and do the work for you. I've actually tested this on one of my YouTube channels. I just wanted to see if it could create playlists on here, and it could. One of the things that I've used Manus for the most, though, is presentations. And I will walk through our PowerPoint in just a few minutes, and actually will show you the presentation I built with Manus so you can actually see what it can do. Now, a lot of times what I'm doing is if I'm building one of those presentations, I'm taking the framework, I'm taking my thoughts on all these things, and I'm organizing them in probably Claude. I think Claude does a really good job there. It's a really good writer. Then I'm bringing it over to Manus, and then I'm having Manus help build this presentation, brand it. Here are my brand style guidelines, all these different things. So it can be very valuable for that. So first of all, let's start with the plus sign here. So you could add local files here. You can use skills, and you can even go to manager skills. You can see some different things that I have built in here under skills, and that it's already got. Now, one of the great things that Manus can do that honestly Gemini seems to have been having a lot of trouble lately with is analyzing a video, helping me with a title, description, things like this. And historically, I used a lot of tools like TubeBuddy, vidIQ, and a lot of these other AI LM models like Manus. Remember, Manus is just a wrapper. It's really feeding off of things like Gemini and Claude. In fact, when it's doing your images, it's using Nana Banana, which is Gemini. So it's important to understand that Manus really is just kind of your wrapper here. It's not a true LM model. It's serving off other models, just kind of like Perplexity is for a lot. ChatGPT is a wrapper, but it's off OpenAI. Claude is a wrapper, but it's off of Anthropic. So you want to remember, hey, what models is it running off of here? So you can kind of test these models a little bit. But here I want to show you in settings when you're building skills of different things you can do. And you can go through here and you can build your own custom skill. In fact, I do a lot of work in insurance CRMs like Agency Zoom, Insured Mind, and one of the skills I build is kind of a framework that this is a kind of repetitive framework I do every week with insurance agents across the country. So I built that as a skill, not to replace me, but kind of to assist me and help guide me, help speed some things up. I've done the same thing with Claude plugins and things like this. So think about a skill as something that you're doing repetitively over and over again, really more than twice a day. I want you to think about a skill that way, whether it's Manus, Claude, a Gem and Gemini, GPT and ChatGPT. Think about that. What am I doing repetitively every day that I can save myself time? Not necessarily go and do it, do everything for me, but where I kind of serve almost as a manager over this skill. And you can see these different skills. You could upload a skill you've already built. You could import from GitHub. So I could actually go to import GitHub right now. fact, I'm going to do that just to show you how I did this. Let's see. I'm just looking for the link to copy here. Now let's put this in here and see if it works. So it's not a skill yet in there because I have it actually set up as a plugin for Claude. And so that's probably why it's not working in Menace. But let's do this. Let's see if we can copy this link. And let's see if we can get it to work over here. Look, this may not work. It's the first time I've ever tried this. So you see it's not working. So I need to go in there and do some things different with GitHub of how I've got it built. But that was just an example. So scheduled task. Let's talk about, I run a flood insurance company as well. And one of the tasks I have it doing is I have it scrape Reddit every week for questions. And then I have it go and put those questions in a spreadsheet. I have it scrape my website, scrape my YouTube channel to see what questions I've already answered. If I haven't answered those questions, it puts into an updated spreadsheet. And so this is where you could build that scheduled task. It would go in here, schedule, tell me which ones are completed. I may do a lot of these things with my marketing clients as well, as it's scraping some different things. It's helping with some different research, all these different things here. Let's go down to integrations and connectors. Integrations here, where you can connect different things with Zapier, Telegram, Slack. I don't really use those that much, but what I do use a lot of the connectors. Let's go to add connectors here. So here, look. Now you can add Manus right in your ads manager to help you with it. Now, here's what I tell people to be cautious here. Whether it's Gemini, whether it's Manus, whether it's Claude, ChatGPT, I want you to think about this. If a platform has this on here to help you with ads, and they also have an ads platform, just keep in the back of your mind that may not be the most neutral LM model. For example, Claude hasn't gotten really too much into ads yet, like Gemini with Google Ads, or ChatGPT is getting an ads, or Facebook Ads Manager. You see, they kind of have a little bit of an agenda here. Am I saying that they have bad intentions? No. I'm just saying keep this in the back of your mind if you decide to use it for this. Test it against a Gemini. Test it against a Claude to see which one gives you a better result. Because remember, each one of these platforms is going to be different. And look, when you're connecting all these, don't just have a field day in connecting all these. Be very cautious about how you're connecting these things here, what you're giving it access to, and all these things. And listen, I'm using the free version right here because I'm just showing you. This is definitely where I would use a paid version. Be very careful here. So that's connectors. Now, if I had something like, for example, with a ClickUp, it could go into my ClickUp and it can access, certain things. For example, it could do probably a better job of organizing my ClickUp for me than ClickUp does. So it could tell one of my team members, tell me what I have going on today on my ClickUp calendar without ever having to log into ClickUp. So think about adoption. If someone's using a tool like this, sometimes getting adoption can be very hard because you're using all these different tools. This is where something like that can help. Now, I've also connected HubSpot to where it's searching different deal data as I'm analyzing things on my flood insurance side, but I may only give it access to certain deal data that's not public knowledge. For example, it might be an address. It might be what a premium could be, foundation type. These different factors I'm looking for, that I can be real with certain data. It can help me build case studies and all these different things. But that's kind of how you can use Manus. Now, look, let's talk about how can you use it inside the insurance agency. Well, let's go over to another Manus account real quick. Let's see if I can pull up this presentation to show you. me see if I can pull this up. All right. So this is kind of what I was talking about with the presentation of what I had Menace build. And I want you to kind of see how this presentation looks pretty good here. You know, the amount of hours it's been able to save me every week by looking at different things and analyzing my data and what I've given it. You know, it's, you know, for example, when you see something that's written, and look, this is where I could edit this right inside Menace. You see how easy this be compared to something like a PowerPoint, for example. You can see, you know, ChatGPT compared to Menace and all these different things. And I'll put this presentation inside the description of the YouTube channel too when I get done with it. And if you're in our private community in our artificial intelligence, I will also build the SOP and I will put it in that private paid community as well. That's a little bit different than this, but I just kind of want you to see, you know, kind of some of the things Menace can do for you. You know, for example, the most impactful use, you know, client education is understanding, you know, one of the things I teach insurance agents every day is the customer journey. How do we build trust each step of the way with our prospects, our clients, and even our team members? And so Menace could analyze a lot of my content, whether it's my website, my YouTube channel, all these different things, organizing things in the spreadsheets, even helping with policy research and comparison, proposal presentation. Does it follow the frameworks that we teach? You see all these different things it can really help me with. Are very beneficial here. And you can almost tell when it's written with AI when you kind of see these dashes. For some reason, no matter what the LM model is, it always wants to put these dashes in here. But you can go here and edit these like I'm showing you right now directly inside Menace. Now, I could have probably gone back and said, hey, give it to me without these, but I didn't. I wanted you to actually be able to see what it looks like. Pretty raw. As you can see, it's pretty good. Is it perfect? No. Remember, the purpose of AI is not to be perfect. The purpose of AI is to be a guide. Hey, if it can do 80% of the heavy lifting, I step in and I do that last 20%. It saves me a lot of time. It's usually my brand, my voice, my tone, all these things. And look, as I said, one of the things I teach to Menace that you can kind of see with prospecting is you know your prospect before you pick up the phone. I'll give you an example of this. We actually used Menace about a year ago now to help an insurance agency build a cold call list for commercial insurance. And we were having it help us collect the data on like the company name, revenue size, phone number, all these different things. But normally what would have taken me, I don't know, about 2.5 hours to research, I was able to get done in probably about 20 minutes. Now, did I still need to organize a lot of it? Yes, a ton of it. Would have 80% of that organization probably been done for me today? Yes. As these LM models continue to get stronger and stronger, especially with Claude and Gemini being heavy partners inside Menace, that it is very interesting here. Now, you see this different case too is the CRM and the workflow. What I love here, if I have it built in a HubSpot, it could go in and analyze the different workflows. All right, how can I improve this workflow? I'm a big follower of David Ogilvy, Gary Halbert, Dan Kennedy, Alicia Hurd. These are all big copywriters. I'm also a big follower of Breakthrough Advertising by Barry Schwartz. It was written in the 60s. Why people make the decisions they do. Another book written in the 60s. So I can take all these frameworks and kind of feed them in the mind as we're working on building these different things. And when I'm doing that, it's feeding kind of from the brains of those copywriters, but understanding what brand, voice, and tone I want to write in, or what I want to build a workflow in, how I want to create clarity with a workflow. Because let's be honest, when it comes to insurance CRMs, some of these workflows and automations can get so confusing. Half the time, we don't know what's going on. We have 8 automations going out to a client at one time. It's creating a bad client experience. The employee doesn't know what's going on. The employee is losing trust. So this is kind of an example here. You know, as I said, keeping that clear framework, really clarity of your context, your length, your example. action, even the role. When you're building out different prompts for Menace, whether it's Gemini, Menace, and all these things. There's also something else I want you to check out, and I'll leave it in the descriptions. It's called promptcowboy.ai. It's a free service, and what it does is it can take a lot of lazy prompts and make them really good prompts for you. So after you built this kind of weak prompt you see here and more clear prompt, now send this. In fact, I'll even take you through here now. All right, so now you can see where you can take that prompt. So let me go back over here. The one I was telling you about, let's see. So I can duplicate. If I want to duplicate, see what happens. See how I duplicated there? Okay, now I can delete it. I just want to show you some different things you can do here. Sorry, my screen was not sharing correctly. I just want to show you how to duplicate here on the slide if you wanted to. And you can remove it there. Now let me go back over here to Prompt Cowboy. And let me put this prompt in here just so you can see what happens. And look, when I'm using this free service Prompt Cowboy and you're going in here and it's telling you the situation, all these things, you see how more detailed the prompt has gotten based on what I just had it with this lazy prompt? Now I could take this, I could copy this. And when I copy this, it's copied. Let me go ahead and put this in Menace so you can see. And I just want you to see what happens here. Also, when you ever see these asterisk marks, this typically is telling the AI that these are headers. So if you're writing a piece of content, remember that. If you put, this could be an H2 header. If you had 3 out there, it could be H3. If it's just 1, it could be an H1 header. So remember that. And look, let's try this again. And sometimes Menace will get errors that said I'm using a free account, so I'm not using my paid account. So it may not go as deep as I need it to go. I may run out of credits, like you're seeing right here. So let's do this. Let's put it into a different account. Once we get through this presentation real quick that I can kind of show you. And as you go through this with Menace too in this presentation, understanding, how you should kind of grow with it over time. I want it to be a strategist for me. I want to be able to guide it in these different things. I want you to understand as an insurance agent how you can use this. And look, anybody who knows me knows that I'm a big believer in this, and that is we shouldn't be using AI to replace our people. We should be using AI to support our people. Does that mean that I'm not going to replace some of my VAs? No, I've replaced about 3 or 4 VAs. And the reason for that is I'm looking for critical thinking VAs. I want ones that know how to push back. I want ones that are 2 or 3. I don't want ones who just copy and paste. The AI could do that. I want people to understand the foundations, or at least willing to learn the foundations, the fundamentals, to question it, to know when it's wrong, to know when it's right, whether that's a VA, whether that's one of my team members. Anybody who knows me knows that's kind of my goal here. So I want you to go into Menace and kind of start playing with this. Set up your free account, set up your paid account. I'm going to go into my back into my paid account real quick. I'm just going to put this prompt in here with a new chat. And you see how it already put it in there? So let's do this. And I just kind of want you to see how it could help with some of these things. And right here's your computer. So you can pull this up right here, and you can kind of see what people are doing right here, as the system's working, it's thinking, and it's processing. And it should come up, as it says, it's going to continue to think here. it's going to be, telling me kind of what's working and everything there. So I'm going to close out of that. And it's kind of telling me what the suggested follow-up should be here. Let's create a comparison table. Look, comparison tables are really big on SEO too. If you want to get found a lot of times in AI overviews, having tables and graphs showing up on your website, they're not images, but true graphs that codes can read, that AI can read through. AI many times can't read what's inside of an image. And so that's one way that you can potentially show up in AI overview. That's just a bonus tip for you here. And you see how it's kind of building this? And it should have this table built for me pretty quickly. And so one of the reasons for this, I want you to kind of see how we built that table. Let's just pull this up right here. And you can see the different things. It's put into a document. And look, if you also rate it here, I could get, sometimes it'll give me free credits. So I'm always trying to give it feedback. But you can kind of see the different table. Now watch this now. Now I just want to see what it can do when I take that table and see what it can do with the design and everything for an image for Instagram. And look, I use HubSpot Content Remix. This is kind of an example of how I use Content Remix. I may take a table, I may take a blog, and I may remix it into different pieces of content. But this is one way you can do this with Menace without having to pay for that subscription potentially with HubSpot. Does HubSpot probably do a little bit better job? Probably today, but they may not in 6 months to a year from now as fast as things are changing. And so we should have this in just a second. So like I'm always using Manus for some different things, but one of the big things I'm using it for is to help with web pages. I will even help it build different calculators like Claude does. A lot of times I'm using it to clean things up. Like Claude can do an okay job. You actually do a really good job at building a calculator, and it can do a pretty good job on the web page. But Manus can do a really good job. So then I can publish that Manus page and I can send it to my team. My team can follow that when implementing into our website. So when it comes to using Menace inside the insurance agency, I just want you to think about this. I want you to think about if you're running Facebook ads for your agency, of how you could connect to your Facebook ads manager to help you with that. I want you to think about how it could do competitive research for you, how it could help build these different things. It could help build a content strategy. Now, when I'm going to Claude and I'm building a content strategy, I might finish it here in Menace because, hey, look, this content strategy is great, but I need to make it more visually appealing. In fact, if I'm presenting to a client, I might build a proposal in here. So you could use Menace potentially to build some of your commercial insurance proposals. Now, I'm not saying put personal information in there. I'm just saying from a template standpoint, a framework standpoint, you could use it for something like that because the design is so good there. Look, I used to use a lot of things like Designer, Gamma, because we built a lot of ebooks and PDFs and things like that. And Menace has gotten us about 80% there. One reason is I've been able to feed it the ones we've built in the past. And it's able to understand that. And it's able to analyze those. And this is exactly how you can use Menace. And look, I'm also going to put in the description of this video kind of a guide on the top 5 cases that I would be using Menace for when it comes to insurance and what you can use. And I'll even put the URL where you can go sign up for an account. I get nothing for you signing up with a Menace AI account. As I said, I'm using the free version right here. And as we start to get towards the end of this quick 30-minute training, I also wanted to wait to see kind of what the layout, what it could do on this image. And look, you could go be working on something else and you could have it doing this. You could create this as a scheduled task. Hey, I want you to create these images for me every Wednesday for Instagram, where you have certain infographics built for your Instagram every week, or Reddit, or whatever it is. And so I want you just to think about that as you're going through this and you're trying to figure out, all right, where am I going to use Menace? But I will put a guide in the description of this video on the 5 best cases that you could be using inside the agency. As I said, if you're in our private community, I will also be building a standard operating procedure on using Menace, best practices, all these things over in our private community when I post this video over there later on this week. And look, if you're not in our private community, if you're here in our artificial intelligence YouTube channel, in the description of this video down below, you can click the link to join that community. All right, so it looks like we got this image back. But look, how does this thing look? Doesn't look very good, does it? Like, let's just say, and look, it's probably going to say you're absolutely right. One reason I know that is because I've worked so much in it, then typically I can kind of have a pretty good idea when it's going to do that. So on the second time around, let's see how it improves it and see how fast it improves it. And remember, typically when we're using infographics and things like Manus, it is pulling off Nana Banana, but it's probably not pulling off 2. As I'm shooting this video, Nana Banana 2 just came out, but you can see right here on the right-hand side. Let's see how much it improves it. And you'll see right here where it's telling me the image is even being generated here through Nana Banana. Now, do you need to have a Gemini account to have that? No, it's just getting access to that through its API, and it's pulling all this data and all these things. But before I finish up this video, I at least want to let you see what it's going to look like from the second generation. And while we're waiting on that, if you're wanting to find your chat history on the left-hand side, look, you would go right here to create a task. You could create certain agents here. You can use your search to find chats here. Things are in your library, a new project if you want it. You have all those things. Your settings, where you can do what we already talked about, your task, data controls. Data controls is something very important. Like I can see websites that I've deployed, share tasks, all these things. And so this is kind of where you would find all this. You could also add this to favorites, task details, rename it. Look, I'm renaming all my task things I'm actually going to be using them for. So let's go back over. Oh, sorry, I just realized that was not sharing. What I wanted to show you is on the left-hand side where you'll find task, agents. If you want to go in and create your own agents to do certain things, search, where you can search all your tasks, your library, where I can find all these different things that have been built in my library, new projects, all these different things. Right here in the right-hand corner, if I wanted to go to search, I could go to certain chats and I could rename those. Let me go back over to Mother Manista and see. Now, look, that's a pretty decent image. Is it perfect? No, but look how much it's improved from the first one. So I want you to think about this. The first time you gave an employee correction, were they perfect? No. Did they improve? Yes. And I want you to see exactly how the AI can with the right prompts, the right guidance, and things like that. So I hope you have found value in today's 30-minute training here on Manus. And said, look, I'll have some other resources in the description of the videos for you. And I need you to do me a favor. If you find value in these videos that I do every Wednesday on here, I need you to hit share, subscribe, like the channel so you can always get the notifications when I do these Wednesday webinars.